Otzi, a wet mummy that was mummified in a glacier, is an anthropological phenomenon. Otzi was a male human who was preserved in ice for about 5,300 years. This dates all the way back to the Copper Age. Otzi died while crossing the Sanalis Valley in South Tyrol. He was given his name because he was found in the Otzi mountain ridge in the Alps. When Otzi was alive, he was about 5 foot 3 inches and 134 pounds. Although this may sound small, he was actually average height and weight for a man of that time, mostly due to the nature of their diet and nutrition. Otzi's diet consisted mostly of meats, grains, and the berries available. He also had 32 different types of pollen in his stomach at the time of his death. This shows that Otzi most likely died in the spring or summer. Otzi's muscular legs indicates he lived a very active lifestyle and went on long treks often. He also consistently walked over rocky terrain, which leads archaeologists to believe he was most likely a shepherd or a hunter. Otzi wasn't quite wearing the typical clothing one would be seen in today. In fact, no woven textiles, wool, or cotton were found on Otzi's body. Instead, he was wearing mostly skins and grass. Otzi had a coat made from animal skins that went all the way down to his knees. It was made from goat and sheep hides and furs that were sewn together with animal sinews. Otzi seemed to have gotten plenty of use from the coat because the inside was very dirty and some of the seams were torn. Otzi's pants were made from goat and sheep hides and were about 65 centimeters long. He also had been wearing these pants for a while because there is evidence of him repairing them in a few places. Otzi kept his pants up with a belt made from hide. The belt doubled as a pouch and contained things like fungus, a boring tool, a flint flake, a scraper, and a bone awl. Otzi had shoes that were constructed of several layers. The first was netting made from lime tree bast. Dry grass and animal fur were put on the inside for insulation and to keep his feet warm. The outside was made from deer hide, which helped keep his feet warm but not necessarily dry. Archaeologists reconstructed the shoe, and they were comfortable for long treks, which would be necessary considering he was most likely a shepherd or a hunter. Finally, Otzi was wearing a hat from bearskin to keep his head warm. Otzi had the world's oldest tattoos. He had about 61 tattoos all over his body, including his wrist, legs, lower back, and torso. The tattoos were made by cutting small incisions into the skin and going over it with charcoal. The tattoos corresponded with acupuncture points all over the body, leading researchers to believe that they were probably for therapeutic reasons. This is because the tattoos were placed over the parts of the body that had the most damage, pain, or wear and tear, like the wrist, knees, or lower back. Anthropologists determined that Otzi was murdered due to the marks left on his body and bones, and was then naturally preserved in ice. He died most likely because of a head injury, which was determined by a protein analysis of his brain tissue. Archaeologists gave Otzi a CAT scan, which showed several dark marks in the back of his head that most likely led to his demise. Because of the trauma to the head, the undigested meal in his stomach, and an arrow wound in his shoulder, archaeologists believe that he was most likely ambushed. Prior to Otzi's premature death, he also had other health issues like joint pain, Lyme disease, heart disease, and tooth decay. Given he was about 45 years old, these conditions were probably quite common. Otzi was discovered quite recently in 1991 by complete accident. You can imagine the two German hikers' surprise when they came across Otzi. At first, they thought Otzi was a hiker like them, mostly because of the state his body was in at the time. He was then identified and aged by archaeologists and currently resides in South Tyrol Museum of Archaeology. Amazingly, Otzi has 19 living relatives in Austria's Tyrol region. This was discovered using a DNA study. Walter Parson at Innsbruck Medical University sampled 3,700 anonymous blood donors in order to find the matches. Parson states that the Icemen and those 19 share a common ancestor who may have lived 10,000 to 12,000 years ago, because they share a rare genetic mutation. In conclusion, Otzi is one of the most important archaeological discoveries. He is one of the oldest and best preserved mummies in history and offers a great example and a lot of insight of what prehistoric life may have been like for the common man.